Hey guys, what is up, and welcome each and every one of you to a new Tesla update video. So as usual today, let's go over the market, talk about what happened, because what a wild day, honestly. It was pretty much a pretty wild roller coaster. We started all the way down at like pretty much 700, actually below 700, but we started off just a tad when the market actually opened a tad above 700, rocketed up all the way to like 740, and then just pretty much bled out the rest of the day. But that's actually not too bad, and even though it looks like kind of bad, it's actually not that bad. So we'll go over it and talk about it, and if you enjoyed, don't forget to hit that like button. Let's just jump right into it. So Tesla ending the day down just a tad, 0.42%, ending the day at just a tad over $708. Which isn't it's not too bad, but not like it's not like amazing, but it's not horrible either, and we'll go over why that is. So taking a quick look at the daily, you can see, you know, on the bright side though, the thing is that's good in my opinion so far, at least, is the fact that we were able to make a higher high, and ultimately actually we made a higher low for now. So we'll see what happens with that, of course, but for now we are making a higher low and a higher high. So we went all the way up here, came all the way down here, then we went even higher, and so far based on how we've dropped, we didn't go lower than this low here, which was around like kind of 701 ish. We ended at 704, and then we did rally from there at the end of the day. So that, in my opinion, so far is not too bad, right? Ultimately, I still believe, like, regardless of what happens, unless we crack 680 somehow or something like that, I still strongly believe that we are going to be going all the way up to, you know, about 800, give or take, pretty much to the top of this line for this bear flag formation. I still believe that is going to be happening. We are currently below the 21 EMA. So again, there are a few things that aren't, you know, ideal. One of which, of course, now we are below the 21 EMA, so that's not like the most ideal thing. Well, however, we are still above the Bollinger Band, which I personally care about the most. The fact that we are still above that and bouncing off of that today, you can see, if you like kind of zoom in over here. The fact that we are bouncing off of that right there, you can see, is good in my opinion. I'm happy about that. That's the second day now we stayed above the white line. Ideally, I want to see maybe tomorrow stay above the white line, which again, essentially, is, to put it simple, is I want to continue seeing pressure, a buying pressure at the 700 level, and I want to essentially maintain above 700 as much as possible. And even more ideally, I would love for us not to make a lower low here. If we can pretty much not break this kind of 701, 702 level, or even this like 704 level, that would be also very, very good in my opinion. But we'll see what happens, of course, with that. I mean, based on what I've explained yesterday, there's not a whole lot more to talk about, but what I personally wouldn't be surprised is if we get some form of consolidation here, maybe tomorrow even. Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if we consolidate between the 704 to maybe even this kind of like 720 level, get some consolidation, fairly flat day tomorrow potentially, and then maybe Friday we actually get a bit of a move up. And then Monday, kind of, you know, as usual, Mondays usually rhyme with Fridays, not always, but maybe 7 out of 10 times. Monday can potentially be another follow through, and that could potentially be what leads us up to this general level that I'm still eyeballing, which is kind of what I'm currently predicting. But of course, you know, we'll see it, and, you know, as it happens, we'll of course discuss it. And if anything major changes, or if anything, you know, crazy happens that shouldn't happen, or is bad news, I'll let you guys know. But as of right now, I don't see anything that's, you know, bad news or anything. I don't see any like red flags at the moment. The candles on the daily, obviously, you know, they're green, which is good, and they are green candles. I'm happy about that, but you know, it obviously shows a decent amount of selling pressure all the way up here. So we're gonna need these kind of moves happen, but without this kind of selling pressure to come in later on. But again, as usual, when it comes to going down, it's good to have bounces to the upside, and when it comes to going up, it's good to have bounces to the downside, and that's kind of what we're doing right now. We're essentially just kind of, you know, consolidating. We had some nice rallies. You know, we made a high here, a low here, a higher high, higher low, and that's good. You know, it's good to get some consolidation here potentially in this kind of channel that we are in right now, even potentially between the 740 to 700 level ultimately. And then pretty much I would guess right now, as we break pretty much $740 once again, once that happens, that to me should be confirmation that there's pretty damn, like, a fairly high, like 80%, not financial advice, you make your own decisions, but like an 80%, maybe even slightly higher percent chance that we're probably going to be heading to that 800 level. We just want to break this once again, and then that should be, in my opinion, confirmation of that happening. So taking a look at the daily one more time, let's take a look at the RSI very, very quickly, just see if it's showing us anything potential here. So like I said earlier, when the RSI was all the way here sitting at around 49, and when we were chilling at around this kind of 775 level, this RSI came up to that general level. But now, even though we made a higher high, the RSI didn't really make necessarily a higher point from yesterday's move, even though it did go higher today. So that's the one part that's a little bit, a little concerning. But again, RSI to me is a lagging indicator. So even if the RSI on the daily starts showing any forms or potentials of forming a bearish divergence, which is not what we want to see, but I think ultimately we'll see eventually, that still doesn't deny this move to the upside. It's just what I would suspect is pretty much what I would suspect is not only would this move to the upside create this bear flag, which is already probably a bad idea, especially if we actually do get rejected at the top channel, but I would also suspect that once we do make a move up here, we would see potentially some form of bearish divergence forming, maybe not on the daily necessarily, but definitely probably on like the slightly slow or a lower time frame, maybe like the 2 hour, 1 hour, something like that. I definitely would not be surprised to see that. But ultimately, let's go in 1 hour, for instance. You can see what I talked about the last time when we were all the way down here, the lowest point being 26, we were all the way at 650, and then as we made a higher a high here, we came lower. The RSI made a higher low, however, even though it made a lower low here, which was a bullish divergence, and from that we essentially shot up all the way up here, breaking all of these levels here. So now we are currently, even though we're sitting at an RSI of almost overbought, sitting at about a 70 from here when we initially touched it, which was around 730. This is higher than what this was, which was all the way up at 765, which is a good sign so far for now. So ultimately, I still believe that there is still room up, and I still stand by what I pretty much have said for the past, like even several days at this point, that ultimately I think we'll see around 800, maybe slightly less, maybe slightly more, but give or take 800, somewhere around the high, very high 700s to 800 level. I ultimately still believe we'll see that. And I even talked about how if we do drop down here, potentially even to 680, which I still think will be fine. Ultimately, what that's going to do is set up a higher low on the RSI, right? So again, low, high, higher low, higher high. And now we're going to pretty much most likely form a higher low somewhere in this range over here before making our way up. And this is where I personally believe also that once we do make our way up, I actually believe that, especially if we go a bit lower, I actually do strongly believe that once we do come all the way up here, let's say to like 790, like all the way over here, for instance, like July 1st, as just a rough example. Could be earlier, obviously, but just as a rough example, if we do make our way up there, like there, at that point rather, I do believe that this RSI has a decent chance of not actually exceeding this kind of 70 to 71 level. And instead, as we go all the way up here, it might potentially only go up to like, let's say 68, maybe 69, something like that, but essentially slightly lower, if not maybe pretty much the same level, which ultimately would start setting up a bearish divergence, which in my opinion, on top of also remaining in this channel, will be another sign that the fact that, we are probably going to be topping around this level, and there's probably going to be a drop coming. And especially if we break to the south side out of this bearish bear flag rather, then that's going to ultimately lead to us probably dropping all the way down to like 500, 450, something like that, which I definitely think might happen. Another thing you can look at also is on the 15-minute chart, same concept over here, looking at the RSI. You can see the RSI is kind of, making almost like a bull flag, if you will, where we went from here, and now we're kind of setting up this almost like a bull flag, if you will, kind of like that, right? Something like that, give or take. So that's something else to obviously take into account as well, where we are kind of setting up this bull flag over here on the RSI, and even honestly on the actual chart itself, where we ultimately went all the way up here, though it looks a little bit messy here because of this higher high, but ultimately it's still kind of like a similar concept where you can make this argument for something like this, though I'm not really sure how you would draw this one, but it could be a bull pennant, for instance. It could be easily something like this instead, right? So pretty much we're in this kind of channel where I want to see a breakout. Again, potentially might go a little bit sideways tomorrow, but I wouldn't be surprised if at least by Friday, if not earlier, maybe even tomorrow, we do see a breakout potentially coming out very, very soon. And I think a big move will come, which will lead us to that 800 level, which is going to be really, really important. Now, on the 15-minute chart, you can see also on top of that, even though the RSI is making a lower low here, the stock actually did not make a lower low here. So on the 15-minute, it's already kind of giving us some signs of a potential bearish divergence. Again, it's a lagging indicator. It doesn't happen the second you see even the first sign of it. Usually you want to see like about 3 signs of it, roughly, give or take, before you get an idea that this bearish divergence might actually play out and that it's actually going to happen. But the only way for this bearish divergence to play out is for us to truly make another move higher, but then this RSI not going higher than this. So again, ultimately, if we do make our way up to, like, let's say 780 to 800, I personally think on the 15-minute chart, for instance, we're probably going to skyrocket all the way up to maybe like 72 in this case, which ultimately, even though we went all the way up to near 800, will still be lower than this 83 level, which is where we were at $730 per share, again setting up a bearish divergence. That's essentially like overall my prediction right now, and I'm pretty confident it's going to happen. Not financial advice, of course, but that's currently what I'm banking on. That's currently what I'm waiting for. And I'm kind of, you know, letting the market do its thing, letting it play out, whatnot. And yeah, that's pretty much what I'm waiting for at the very moment. And I still strongly believe it will happen. I still strongly believe at the very least we'll see 390 on SPY, get this gap fill over here, maybe for lucky, potentially even 400. And that's kind of what I'm thinking, guys. Overall, you know, decent reaction so far on the market. And yeah, at this point, we just kind of, you know, sort of got to let it do its thing, let the market, you know, find its path, if you will. But ultimately, that's what I'm currently predicting. So yeah, let me know what you guys think down below. The volume today, not too bad. 33 million and a half. It's not, you know, in line more or less. So not a whole lot else to talk about other than that. So yeah, let me know what you guys think down below. Again, the most important thing in my opinion for now to really prolong this move is the fact that we're above the 5-day moving average, we're above the 10-day moving average, and we're above the Bollinger Band. And the cherry on the cake would also be, of course, the 21 EMA. Being above that would also be quite nice. But other than that, guys, that's what I'm currently seeing. Again, if anything happens, I'll let you know. If anything bad, if anything suspicious is happening. But ultimately, what you want to see is ideally, you don't want to see a drop below 700. That's the ideal situation. You don't want to see a drop below 700, but especially 680. So pretty much if that happens at any point, maybe tomorrow, let's say 700, you know, be careful. 680, be very careful. But yeah, other than that, guys, thanks for watching. I'll see you tomorrow. Peace.